Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. Today we're headed back to Scotland, to the Highlands, and I bring out my handy dandy map. And the thing about Scotland, if we get it upside right, don't want to make everybody dizzy there, you have a lot of highlands. I mean, a lot of the country is highlands, and there's a stretch, this is not correct, there is a stretch here that is Speyside, where there's a large concentration of distilleries. And I like to point out where the Highland distilleries are because there is so much territory. Oban, way down here, that's a Highland. And right up here is GLENGLASSAUGH, which is in the Highland region, very close to the Spey River. It's not too far away. It's on the North Sea, so it gets a little bit more of a sea character to it. So if you're a fan of Old Pulteney, you might want to look at some of the GLENGLASSAUGH whiskeys because you're going to get that same kind of a briny flavor in some of the whiskeys. And I've done Torfa, which was the one that is peated and really does give off a salted caramel with the addition of that smoke, which is really nice. Today we're going to be doing the GLENGLASSAUGH Evolution. Now, Evolution is unique in that it is actually aged in ex-Tennessee casks, and when we say ex-Tennessee casks, and we know that GLENGLASSAUGH is a Brown-Foreman company, you might be thinking that those casks are coming from Jack Daniel's because they are owned by Brown-Foreman. But the whiskey in this is of many different ages, and so there's a possibility that some could have come from a time period before they were sourcing Jack Daniel's barrels. So we have to think about other Tennessee distilleries and what kind of influence they might bring to the whiskey. 50% alcohol by volume. Very interesting distillery. This is a distillery that has been opened and closed a couple of times. It was around from 1875 up to 1907. Got shut down. It was a bakery for a little while during World War I, and then it came back in 1960, and it was rebuilt at that time. They were using it for Cutty Sark and for Famous Grouse and maybe some other blends as well. But they were having a really hard time working with it because the whiskeys that come out of GLENGLASSAUGH are very heavy in body, and they're complex in flavor. There's a lot of stuff going on. And when you're talking about a blend, and think about it this way, if you're making a cocktail and you're going to use a whiskey for it, would you want to use a complex whiskey, or would you want a whiskey that's going to bring out a particular flavor to balance with other flavors that you're getting from that cocktail? Same sort of thing here with the whiskey. You run into a problem when you're doing a blend. If you have a complex whiskey, it's just going to become muddled and really not promote a particular flavor for you because there's a lot of different flavors going on in that whiskey. And so long about the 1980s, the distillery ended up shutting down again because they were making too good a whiskey. And so that's an interesting problem to have. But it came back in the 2000s, and Brown-Foreman bought it around 2013, I believe it was. And, oh man, really, I'm impressed by these whiskeys. They have really nice body to them, which I love that kind of milky consistency with a whiskey. And there's a lot of stuff going on in here. And I love the 50% ABV because I think it really lends a lot to the palate. I'm getting to a point where I don't even want to buy 40% alcohol anymore or whiskeys because it's just too watered down. I will say that I have had some that are 40% and they're fine, but so you can't throw them all out. But I'm just saying that for the most part, I would rather probably stay 46% and above. 43% I can do. I love Laphroaig. I love Laphroaig 10. But what's interesting is once I started drinking cask strength, it was hard to go back to Lefroy 10, the regular, at 43%. And I can't imagine going to Europe because they have it at 40% there. So it is definitely different. And as you're going to find out with my interview with John Campbell in a couple weeks, that he said actually that there is definitely a difference between that 40% and the 43%. So bravo to Brown-Foreman for going 50% on this. Actually, when this was a younger whiskey, it was actually a higher proof, and it was not getting great marks. So I think the lowering of the proof to 50% has, or to 100 proof, has definitely helped this out. Very nice on the nose. You get a hint of sawdust on this, but the flavors and the scents that really come out to you are a very floral vanilla that comes out. The fruit notes are in there, very tropical kind of fruits. I'm not really sensing necessarily a banana, maybe more of a pineapple, that kind of a smell, but give me time. Maybe a hint, and a little lemon note in there also. I think it's coming with the grain. Cheers. Wonderful maltiness out of that. The tropical fruits, a little toffee, and then a mineral note comes in. And for those that know George Dickel, that mineral note, that Flintstone vitamin note, actually starts to reveal itself as you're getting towards the finish. And then on the finish, I'm getting some more of that oak is coming in, a little lemon coming in as well. It's lighter on the finish actually, which is interesting. It's got a nice clean finish to it. Little pepperiness comes in, and a little bit of a sea character, just a little brininess that lays on the palate at the finish. And that's what I mean. There's a lot going on in this one little whiskey. And so it's one of the reasons that I am definitely a fan of Glenglassaugh. This is probably not my favorite in the line. I like it. Torfa is definitely my favorite, and I will do a tasting on Revival coming up soon. I think the only thing that kind of is off-putting for me is that I'm not a huge fan of that mineral-y note, and it does kind of pull itself out there at that one point and lets you know it's there. But then it finishes nice and clean, and so I'm good with it after that. But no, I think it's a good whiskey, and I think that Glenglassaugh is one of those distilleries that you really need to pay attention to and watch what is coming out of there, because as their stocks start to mature, you know, these are going to be, we'll get into age statements potentially along the way, and you know, these whiskeys are developing and becoming better and better as the years go. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and if you got something out of it, please give us a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos down the road. And don't forget to join the official Whiskey Lore community on Facebook. If you got a Facebook account, all you have to do is look for Whiskey Lore with an E, whiskey with an E, and join in, follow, you know, say that you're going to follow the rules, and you're in, and we get up and chat about things in there, and I'll post some of these reviews though, be able to chat with amongst friends, make some new friends out there in the whiskey community, people who love whiskey history and enjoy learning about whiskey. Until next time, cheers and Slainte. Mineral note actually came out even faster there. A little Flintstone vitamin going on for you.